Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined by Bryan Leonard, and we're talking Major League Baseball season win totals. And as we said in the part one of this video, Bryan is the expert on this. And Bryan, you were up there for the weekend in Reno, and you pounded a lot of these games. What are some of the ones that you want to share with the viewers that you got down on? And when you say it, tell us what you got it at, what you're seeing it at right now, and if you still feel if there's value.
One of them was the Minnesota Twins over, and I got it at 68.5. It's now 72, 72.5. I don't see any value in it at this point. One of the things I look for when I'm playing these is there anybody on the fringe of the majors? And Brian Buxton's a stud. He could be the #1 guy. You know, a lot of people are talking about the guy with the Cubs, the third baseman for the Cubs, Bryant being a great player. Buxton's up there too. So, and then you got some pitchers for the Twins. I think the Twins are an up-and-coming team. Low payroll, but I think there's some value in them. But at that number, I don't think it's going to be there. One of the numbers I didn't get the best number on was the Oakland A's. I played them over 82.5. You can get over at this point 81, 81.5. Sometimes you have to look at the entire organization, and Oakland's one of those teams that doesn't have a high payroll, and they continue to bring players in to fit that system. Billy Beane's terrific. The Kansas City, we talked about in the other one, Kansas City losing a heart of the lineup player. Oakland gets them. I like Oakland, and now we're getting a better line. That would be one that I would recommend to go out and get it now. I think this Oakland team is going to be on par with others in the last few years. They're a team that knows how to win. You know, there's some other teams out there. You know, Colorado, a team that wasn't very good last year. I haven't bet this one as of yet. Not a lot of people are lining up to bet on Colorado. They've got some talent there. You always have to worry about injuries.
Last year.
Yeah, have injuries every year. When your two best players are getting injured all the time. But I think Colorado's doing some good things there. I think Colorado could be a surprise. Tampa Bay right now is sitting at 79, 79.5. Tampa Bay loses their best hitter in Myers, the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. They lose their best all-around player, second base, outfield. So they've lost him, and more importantly, they've lost Madden, the manager. Tampa Bay doesn't have a high payroll. They're in a situation where nobody wants to go to those games. They wouldn't go. Tampa Bay is one of those teams that was fighting for the best record in baseball every year, and nobody goes to those games. Now that Tampa Bay is not going to be a contender, how many more people are going to go to those games? I don't think many of them. Tampa Bay is one of those teams I could see doing some trades as the season goes on. 79.5 right now. You got to play that game under, or that team under. They are not the same anymore. Their in-house guy in the front office went to the Dodgers. So you're losing management, you're losing manager, and you're losing two of your better players. Pitching staff's still going to be good for Tampa. I just don't think they're going to score enough runs, and that line's still out there.
To go to Tampa for a second, how many games would you attribute that a manager could be worth over a course of a season?
You know, I'm not an expert in that, but there's people that are, and they say 4 games. And Tampa's one of those teams that, like the Oakland A's, what I spoke about earlier, it's a good situation, but now everybody's leaving. It's not going to be the same. I mean, you see that happen all the time. Some people even, you know, people talk about San Diego. San Diego's another one of those teams. Everybody loves San Diego right now. I don't see it. Your pitching staff, they brought in some good pitchers, all with injury problems. Shields hasn't been injured, but the guy's pitching 220 innings every year. He's an older guy. The infield, there's nobody in the infield that you should be starting in the infield. And the outfield are all guys that hit for power, but they're all either injury-prone or bad defensive players. I think San Diego's overrated, and that's one of them that I haven't played as of yet. I'm going to wait for the public to read up on. Look at all these great players they brought in. Play that over, then I'm going to come in on the under in that.
Yeah, San Diego last year, if you remember at the beginning of the season, they had pitching all year. I mean, they were a good pitching team. But remember at the beginning of the year, they couldn't score runs at all. I mean, everybody was making a joke.
It's just not last year. It's the last few years.
But then they had that run where they had a stretch where all of a sudden they were scoring runs, you know. And so I think that's where a little bit of the hope is, where people think that this team's going to take that next leap. Because you're always wanting, when you get that little ray of hope, people want to make more out of it because it's human nature with their team and their fan base. And that sounds like a good one for the overrated.
And as opposed to other sports like basketball and football, where the timing of the other players plays into it, baseball is more of an individual sport, which gives teams that bring in players like that more of an advantage. But take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays. They did the same thing just a few years ago, and they fell flat on their faces. San Diego's expectations are a little bit too high right now.
All right. Well, good stuff from Bryan Leonard. Like I said, there's not many people that I respect more than Bryan Leonard when it comes to futures betting. This guy is rated. That's his. The meat of your lineup, you make a lot of your. I bet you if you probably at the end of the year put down a number and like do a pie chart and say the percentage of your winnings and stuff, there's a big slice of pie coming.
There's a big slice of these futures bets, yes,
absolutely. So he's Bryan Leonard. I'm Marco D'Angelo. I want to thank Bryan for sharing that with the viewers. You can catch Bryan at Wager Talk. Check out all of his plays. And Bryan and I both will be up in Arizona in March sometime checking out spring training. And
normal spring training trip. Can't wait.
That's it. All right. I hope you enjoyed these ones. We'll be back with more futures betting about baseball as we get closer to the start of the season here on WagerTalk.com.